Broncos at Jets. The Broncos, 2-0 in the last 2 weeks. People forget that.
Defense playing great.
People do forget that. They come away with the thrilling, exhilarating 10-9 victory in the middle. And so let's get to Denver. They earn the right. Their top 5 players in this game: offensive guard Ben Powers with an 83.3, offensive tackle Garrett Bowles with an 80.8, edge rusher John Franklin Myers with a 79.8, and then offensive guard Quinn Miners back to the offensive line here with a 79.3, cornerback Jaquan McMillan with a 76.8 at number 5, and then Bo Nix just a 48.9 quarterback grade. Yet they get the win here in this one. We flip over to the New York side of things. Linebacker Quincy Williams with a 91.1, cornerback DJ Reed with a 90.2, running back Braylon Allen a 79.2, linebacker Jamien Sherwood with a 74.6, and then wide receiver Mike Williams a 74.0. Aaron Rodgers, in his own words, said that he left some throws out there. 68.7 overall grade in this one. Dalton, when it comes to your beloved Jets dropping this one to the Denver Broncos, what was your stat that told the story?
You know, I had to find some numbers on this. It feels like, regardless of who the quarterback is or who the play caller is or who is on the offensive line, it has just felt like for the last couple of years that the Jets are not ready to play when the game starts. And the first quarter is just always been a problem. Getting off to good starts has been a problem, right? And whether it's, even in wins, if the defense keeps it low scoring and then we get the engine running on offense, and in this game they never did, it's a problem. Okay, so this week in the first quarter, they had a 40.8 offensive grade. And they didn't have a lot of good offensive grades, but usually, even if it's a bad offense, you go, okay, you mentioned before with the first 15 plays or the first couple of drives or whatever, right? This year, the Jets in the first quarter are 27th in offensive grade. And in quarters 2 through 4, they are 8th. Last year, and I know the Jets are towards the bottom in a lot of offensive rankings, and I get that. Look, I get it. We had bad O-line. We're constantly rebuilding. It's all that stuff. Last year, last in offensive grade in the first quarter. For Robert Saleh's entire tenure, they are last in offensive grade in the first quarter. And this year, first 15 plays, that's usually what coaches talk about. You mentioned the scripted plays before. The second worst offensive grade in the league on their first 15 plays of a game.
It's not good.
It's not. And there's even been times I've seen it from the defense too, where last year there was some splits where it's like there's just times when they're just not ready to go, and the level of focus mentally, and 13 penalties, and the Texans are leading in penalties. You just mentioned it. I guarantee you the Jets are not far behind on that list. Penalties and just not being ready to roll in the first quarter, no matter who they're playing. It could be the best. The perfect example. Or last year they almost beat the Chiefs. But they played the first quarter. The first quarter they were awful. They got down 17-0. And then they almost came all the way back even with Zach Wilson and won. That's the Jets. It's just for some reason the first 15 minutes I don't know what it is at this point, where it's just they are not ready to go until the second quarter starts. And in this game, they try to get it to be like that, and some days it's just not going to go, especially when you have a defense playing as well as Denver's has the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's hard. It's hard to get the engine revving. These are things we don't see from teams like the 49ers. The 49ers come out firing first, right off rip. The Chiefs, a lot of times, those scripted first 15 to 20 plays are fantastic, right? We see these teams right now. I think Washington has that with even Jaden Daniels and Cliff Kingsbury right now.
Clearly,
well, they have it on every drive right now, but they come out. It's just you get teams that are ready to play from the first whistle, and there's a theme where the Jets just aren't. It's not just this week. It's been for as long as I can remember in this tenure now, with or without Rodgers.
You cannot just punt on the first quarter like that. I did not know those stats for the Jets, and that's really good research by you, because you're just not going to win enough football games.
If you watch a Jet game, you could probably just wait out until, if the game's at 1, you could wait till 1:30 or 1:40 to turn it on. And it's been like this for honestly as the last couple of years. It's just they just never start well.
My stat that told the story: 100% precipitation. That's a stat. We're going to the Weather Channel app, and that's the stat that told the story for me, because
it doesn't help either. Yeah,
this was these two themes. I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to say that I'm letting the Jets off the hook. The Jets should have won this football game. I'm also not trying to take anything away from Denver, who won in on the road, tough situations. They got away with the win. Hats off to them. These two teams, 30th and 31st in offensive grade in Week 4. So 2 of the 3 lowest graded offenses in the NFL. Jets had a 65.1 adjusted completion percentage. That's 25th. And the Broncos had a 53.1, which is 32nd. Just zero passing in this game. It just wasn't going to happen. I mean, there were a couple of plays where they showed Bo Nix, and he's trying to throw the ball to the sideline, and it's just like wobbling.
Yeah,
it's completely fallen out of his hands. And Aaron Rodgers, I think, was a little bit better at mitigating it. But the stat that told the story here is that if this is a sunny day, if this is sunny in 75, the score is not even close to this. I'm not trying to take anything away from the Denver Broncos. I'm not trying to totally let the Jets off the hook. I'm not saying, if it didn't rain, the Jets would have 100% won the football game. Unfortunately,
you play in the conditions you're given, and even then we talk about, then adjust it and run the ball and all of that.
Right.
Breece Hall had 6 carries for 4 yards.
No, it was bad, and I can take that right into my most disappointing, which is not Breece Hall. People want to talk about, Breece Hall, most disappointing. He had 10 carries for 4 yards, whatever it was. The blocking for Breece Hall this season has been bad, and I think that certainly in Week 4 it was terrible. Breece Hall, I mentioned 10 carries for 4 yards, 0.1 yards before contact through Week 4.
Yeah, they're definitely better in pass protection, but they're not. The run game is not getting.
2 of his games, he has a negative yards before contact average. This team does not want to block for Breece Hall. And the stats that he has accumulated have come through him making runs after contact, because he is consistently getting hit in the backfield or at the line of scrimmage. So a lot of people out there who'd be like, Breece Hall was so disappointing. I'm putting much more blame on the guys up front, because when you have an average of 0.1 yards before contact through the first 4 weeks, those guys up front got to do the job way better. So that's my most disappointing. You can hit dealer's choice, most impressive, most disappointing, whatever.
I'll start with impressive. I'll give the Broncos credit. Patrick Surtain was awesome in this game.
Okay.
2 catches for 24 yards. I think one of them was for 1 yard, and the other one was just an outstanding catch by Garrett Wilson, where he was inbounds by like a kneecap. I think he got 22 or 23 yards on that play. But no, they shadowed, just like they did with Mike Evans last week. They shadowed Surtain on Wilson, and he was spectacular. 76.8 coverage grade, 2 catches, 24 yards, a forced incompletion. I think it goes beyond the box score with him. The level that he shut down and he won the battle against Garrett Wilson in this game was a huge factor for the Broncos' game plan and their execution, even for the rest of their defense, because he just shut Garrett Wilson down.
My most impressive, I'm going to go with Mike Williams, because every single game, Mike Williams is getting better and better. 72.9 receiving grade in Week 4. That was the best of any wide receiver on the team. When it comes to grades, targets, catches, and yards, it has increased every single week since he has come back from Week 2 up to this point. He is getting more warmed up. We are seeing more towards the prime version of him when he was with the Chargers. I mean, that toe tap catch to the sideline, that's vintage Mike Williams, if you want to call something vintage Mike Williams. I mean, that is what he does. He is a sideline stud. When space is at a premium and he needs to go up and get it and just toe tap at the sideline to bring tough catches, back shoulders, going up and mossing cornerbacks, like that is what Mike Williams does, especially when it comes to deep down the field. He was showcasing that more so in Week 4 than he ever had, and he's just getting better at it. So he was my most impressive. Your most disappointing here before we move on.
I'm officially worried about this Jets pass rush.
Okay.
And I know Will McDonald had 5 sacks, was it, in the first 3 games? But we talk about here all the time. It's not about sacks. It's about consistent pressure. They're just not creating that. A 52.4 pass rush grade as a team in this game. 26 opportunities, 5 pressures, and 3 of those 5 were unblocked. They're just not winning the battle up front right now. And this front 7, look, it hasn't played what we think is its best football, but right now they are pass rushing like a bottom 10 team. And John Franklin Myers had a great game for Denver. Bryce Huff is in Philly now. Jermaine Johnson tore his Achilles. This is not the same defensive line as last year. It's Quinnen Williams getting doubled every play, and it's Will McDonald trying to develop as he goes, because he didn't get to play a whole lot last year. They can't find a pass rush. Actually, I think if this was a sunny, nice day, I think Bo Nix would have completed a lot of passes because he had a lot of clean pockets. This Jets front seven and this pass rush, and I'm going to tell you something right now. They're playing Minnesota next week. I don't have an answer up front. That's a way better pass protecting unit than Denver is. I mean, we just talked about their pass protection. I don't know where the pass rush comes from for the Jets right now, and if they don't get off to better starts on offense, they're going to have problems in England next week.